a lot of people immediately go, oh, but like he's more competent than Trump. He's going to be scarier. It's like, no, dude. And it's a complete misread from the Republican Party. This is something that I've mentioned a bunch of times. Republicans don't realize that their agenda is just genuinely reprehensible and that people don't like it if you're just like a nerdy guy who is like being nerdy about your racism or being nerdy about your sexism. Like a little bit of like racism and sexism obviously plays well to the base, right? But you can't go beyond. You can't just like deliver detailed analysis in the form of scientific racism to try to justify your belief system, right? And I think that they are leaning into that because it's a genuine misread. I think that they just like bought Twitter. Elon bought Twitter and they just thought that they could like manipulate people into thinking this way. They thought that, you know, they were genuinely popular, not realizing that like all of the policies that they've pushed for are not necessarily things that people are desperately demanding. Like their base of support is not desperately demanding that you, I don't know, fucking dunk on a bunch of like random trans teenagers. Like most people just don't give a shit. You know what I mean? That's not a real thing that people are like desperate for, you know? Like even in the Republican Party, no one is like, oh yeah, I can't wait for penis inspection day in schools, dog. Like I love that shit. That's weird. That's just gross. Why the fuck do you care about this so much? And I think that they're just going to keep doing that, even though that exact mentality led to a awful, disastrous 2022 midterm outcome for them. And honestly, like the fact that the Republicans or the fact that the campaign thinking that they were going to still run against Joe Biden went with like an easy base pick with JD Vance, even though it was like just an awful choice overall, is a clear-cut indication that they are too far gone and too lost in the sauce to change course, change trajectory, change their messaging. I've said this before. I've said this time and time again. I said this in 2022. I said this on multiple different occasions for the past couple of years now, that the Republicans personally forgot how to run in a post-Trump world. They forgot how to run like good campaigns. They forgot how to appeal to normal people and have mistaken their own success in state legislatures for genuine popular momentum and broad support for some of their most violent policy agendas. And it's really weird. They're just getting really fucking weird with it. And it's not just me saying like, oh, Republicans are so fascist. Like they are literally just leaning into that. And I don't think they understand that like there is a level of how tapped in the average normal, you know, possible Republican Party voter is, and how grossed out they will be when they constantly see like America is run by cat ladies who don't have children, you know? Like that's not work, man. That's weird. Like you're just fucking weird. I don't know how else to describe it. This is a Vox video from 6 months ago that explains how doing that. Okay, we'll look at it in a little bit. And it is odd because like JD Vance and Ron DeSantis are so similar on that front. JD Vance and Ron DeSantis are so similar on that front in the way that they are leaning into Trump's culture war narratives, but actually trying to push policy. If you remember, I talked about Little Rhonda quite a bit when he was chosen as the pick to replace Donald Trump by the Republican Party. Establishment Republicans thought that Donald Trump was too volatile and potentially was going to be poison for the broader electorate. And at the time I said, in 2022, I said two things. Either they continue leaning into this weird shit and they lose the elections going forward, or they successfully radicalize like a large enough base of support beyond the MAGA cult into being just as insane, into being just as like genuinely, openly mentally ill. If you remember at the time I said like either people are going to become like transvestigators across the board, like every Republican that would otherwise be living in like the suburbs with like a real job or whatever is going to become like this Matt Walsh style transvestigator and like have their brains absolutely get broken by this kind of 24/7 news cycle, like constantly pumping out this fucking narrative over and over again. Or they're going to negatively polarize towards that sort of thing and either stay at home, not vote, or vote for the Democratic Party, right? And I think it's to me, it seems to me right now that the Republican base of support is still kind of crumbling. Like, I don't think they've picked up additional people that are brain rotted, or at least in enough numbers as the people that they still hemorrhaged from the base of support. Okay? Do you feel me? For those of you who don't know, when you get to transvestigation stage, I've said this quite a bit as well. There is like a level of brain rot that everybody has. Earthquake? I didn't even feel it. What the fuck? In Simi Valley? It must have been a real small one. You know what will really help? A middle ground video? Okay. We need to be careful about roasting JD before the Ohio ballot date, or else Trump might replace him 10 days ago. Dude, that would be chaos. Are you kidding me? If Trump swapped out JD Vance right now, that would look so disordered. Like, I think he's locked in. He has to be. Just like some of you are locked into debating me at the top of the hour so you can serve the 3-minute ad break. Trump is basically destined not to see a 3-minute ad break at the top of the hour, but instead destined to run this ticket with JD Vance by his side, right? Apparently Elon Musk and other billionaires from that group and his son told him to pick JD Vance. They fucked him over. Donald Trump Jr. is plays a big role in this as well. But subscribing at the top of the hour will play a big role in this for you if you no longer want to see the ads at the top of the hour. Like I said, for $6 or for free with Twitch Prime, you too can subscribe at the top of the hour. Or maybe you can get gifted a sub if you're lucky. Here's a 3-minute ad break now. May Poontang, thank you for the 10 gifted subs. And Daily Donut, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. It's kind of wild. It's kind of breaking my brain to watch Democrat strategy shift from when they go low, we go high, to Republicans are a bunch of weird pedophiles in the span of like 3 weeks. Yeah, I mean, it's great. It's awesome. It's smart. It's fucking good. Ryan's brain is breaking because like it's good instincts, and Democrats usually never do that. I said this since day one. I've been a fucking big time advocate for this since day fucking one. This is literally what they should be saying since 2022. They should have been running this before 2022, but it's correct. Where is it? I posted about this as well. Let me see if I can find it. I think it was after Walt said something too. Yeah, I mean, look, I said going for the weird vote. Americans with children should face the consequences of the reality. Where the fuck is Waltz? This rhetoric is correct and will win over lots of people. Republicans have objectively become a weirdo party. They're super focused on random groups of people that aren't doing harm to anyone. They're too sweaty about it, too moralizing, too online. It cost them big wins in 2022. And I stand by that. I stand by that. About the vibe shift, I watched and read about 24 focus groups in the last 10 days, and overwhelmingly everyone knows Trump. And either you love him without reservation or feel ick about him. No in between. Almost all swing voters are open to her now, and everyone wants to see Kamala, what Kamala can do. They all give her a clash break from Biden. When you were calling the months in advance, did you think Vance would be this bad? I didn't. I said he was one of the worst picks he could have gone with. Yes, for all of the reasons that are in full display. I just didn't know how negatively people would respond to him. But yeah, no, this is precisely the reason why I said he's a fucking horrible pick. A lot of people immediately go, oh, but like he's more competent than Trump. He's going to be scarier. It's like, no, dude. No, he was less popular in his state. Guys, when you're picking for a VP, why the fuck do you go to a lock like Ohio? Ohio is a red lock at this point. It's no longer a fucking swing state. Okay? Ohio was a red lock. And not only was Ohio a red lock, bro, get someone to make a comp of you predicting things like swapping Biden out being good and show the DNC how good your political instincts are. I don't think the DNC gives a fuck about how good my political instincts are. Let's be real. Because, you know, if it were up to me, I'd swap out a lot more. But I told you guys, a guy like JD Vance that is less popular than Donald Trump in the state of Ohio is a ridiculous pick to begin with. Donald Trump outperformed JD Vance in the state of Ohio by 3 points. Not only that, but also JD Vance was on a ballot with the fucking governor of Ohio. The governor of Ohio is a much more moderate Republican. Red states oftentimes will have like states in general in the gubernatorial race only care about who the person is. Party affiliation goes out the window. Governor of Ohio is a significantly more moderate figure in the Republican Party across the board. And also, in general, he was like significantly more moderate than JD Vance. Okay? He outperformed JD Vance on that same ballot by 20 points. 20 points. Was it a different ballot? I thought it was on the same one. I might be remembering it differently. The wine is barely moderate. Dude, for the modern Republican Party, the wine, especially with like any red governor in a red state that did some kind of like COVID restrictions is moderate. Any governor in a fucking red ass state that isn't like as aggro as like punishing women for getting abortions is going to be considered a moderate. Okay? I thought it was on the same ballot. So overall, the point is not that like Trump should have picked the wine as his VP, by the way. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just using that juxtaposition to show you how bad of a pick JD Vance was, even in the state of Ohio, a state that you don't need to like pick up any additional support from anyway. That's why this pick was ass. David Sachs, Elon Musk, and Tucker Carlson, with the exception of Tucker Carlson, listening to David Sachs, Elon Musk, and Donald Trump Jr. is the dumbest fucking thing you can do. I'll find the clips where you 100% said if the Republicans lean on this trans hate, they're going to come across weird to the average voter. Yeah. A compilation of your locks. Imagine Metal Gear Solid 3 look like that. Look at this fucking socialist wearing a... Okay, these aren't silly locks. These aren't like political things that I've mentioned. Anyway, it looks like they didn't pick JD to win the election, but the lockdown and MAGA future, none of the reasons listed were to help win Ohio. Yeah, but you don't understand. There is no fucking MAGA future with JD Vance either. I think the only real reason for JD Vance was he's the bag man, as someone in the chat also correctly pointed out. Do you see what I'm saying? He brings in tech bro support. He brings in the big bag, a big old bag from a lot of right-wing VC funded, VC backed Silicon Valley weirdos and losers. And that's it. And I think it was dumb. And even Bergen would have been better, honestly. But yeah, the fucking MAGA supporters or weird narrative is solid. Like, it's because they are, and they should be called weird. Because like when you present them as like a genuine threat to American democracy, you're giving them, I mean, it's not untrue, but you're giving them too much credit. And that actually plays solidly to their base. But if you actually humiliate them, you cut away on that narrative a little bit that they're big, strong, scary guys. Because they can always run on that and be like, oh, they're just afraid because we're going to do great things for America and we're going to be owning the libs. But when they're the ones getting fucking owned for being humiliated on the timeline and being humiliated in general, all of a sudden, some of the normies see that and they're like, I don't know if I want to be responding to this. I don't want to be associated with this shit, which is something that I've done for years and years. This is a big principle. This is why I do Hogwatch. You feel me? Like, I love that these guys are letting their fucking freak flags fly on the timeline and being associated with this image that they're fucking insane because they objectively are. Look at that. 4G Auto Blow is legitimately like a gross, weird person. Okay? Like the Republican Party used to uphold this image of like elitism and all this shit. And now they got dudes with face tats. That image is edited. Bro, he does have a Trump blow up though. I don't know if that is that actually edited. He literally does have a Trump blow up doll. And he also does look that way. Like that part is not edited at all. So you feel that this is a bit reminiscent of how liberals behave towards conservatives in 2016 that it might backfire? No. In 2016, liberals behaved towards conservatives as not as though they were like weird and gross freaks, but instead that they're like I mean, they were right, by the way. Liberals consistently talked about how, you know, Trump would be awful, and they talked about Trump quite a bit to a degree that gave him a lot of play, but Donald Trump had no track record that you could point to. And Donald Trump was significantly more moderate on a lot of issues in 2016. Liberals cared about the decorum and how uncivil the Republicans were. The Republican Party at that point was still, the last time the Republican had ran in that situation was fucking Mitt Romney. A Mitt Romney to Donald Trump swap out was obviously genuinely changing the trajectory of the Republican Party, but people still thought about the Republicans as like, you know, there was still enough people in the base, the normal Republicans that live in the fucking suburbs and shit, that thought the Republican Party was the old Republican Party. You know, they were still gross, violent weirdos overall, but they hadn't gotten this gross on, you know, in front of a broader audience. And also, Trump did not have the disadvantage of run and successfully won the presidency and been the president for 4 fucking years. Everybody knows what it's to live under a Trump administration. People don't like the way that they felt under the Trump administration. Okay, maybe some people have like rose-colored glasses in the way that they look back at that. There's always like a nostalgia component. Maybe they remember the stimmies that they got, right? Some people definitely remember the stimmies that they got, and the stimmies were good. It's never bad, right? It's never fucking bad to give money to people. People love that shit.